Hi everyone, in this video I will show you how I'm using the Roo Code extension for VS Code to add features to my production website completely only with words without typing any single line of code. I will only review what the Roo Code does for me. So this is my VS Code and my Django website project is here, written in Python of course. This is the Roo Code extension. As you see here I have the box to type the instructions that I want to give to it, and of course I'm using the latest model of Claude 3.7 with my API key. So this is the website that we are going to code today thanks to our coding agent. The website is actually a YouTube videos feed which is generated completely automatically using OpenAI ChatGPT API. These are the videos and these are the controls to control the feed. So of course we are going to work with the local version of this website. So I'm going to this play button and I already have there the manage.py to run the website locally. So let it to start. And the local version is up and running. Let's just see that everything is okay. Yeah, so this is our production version. Let's just close it for now, and we see here the local version with all the videos and the control buttons above. Okay, so we want here to add the X button whenever the user types anything. So let's start doing it. So because after all we are programmers, let's understand what we are going to do and what the code agent will change for us so we can review it. So in Django everything is considered an app. Our videos function inside the website is actually a directory named videos, which is corresponding to the same app videos. Inside that we have the templates and videos directory and the video list.html file. This is the template which is loaded when we browse to the main page of the website without any path in the URL. So everything you see here is actually coded inside this file. And if we go here to the controls section, as you see here the comments, we need to find the tags control, and inside it we need to find the search input. So this is the input tag where we type the things that we want to filter inside the tag box. So of course the changes of the coding agent will be in this area. So now that we more or less understand where and what it is going to change, we can review it easier. And I remind you that I won't type any single line of code. I want everything to be 100% automatically using the coding agent, and my goal is only to test it and to review the code that it is working correctly, and of course that our coding agent didn't do any nonsense stuff that will break our site sooner or later. So I'm going to pass our instructions to the Roo Code, and this is my instruction that I wanted to do. As you see, I've used here the @ sign. This is when you want to talk about specific files, and I'm doing it because I know that my input is here in this file, in the template file. And actually I could have removed this line, and I think it would be also know to look at this file, but I think it would cost me more money because every action that it does, it costs API money. So when I know things, I want to make some shortcuts for it, so it will be also finish my task faster. So what I'm asking it is to go inside this file, and there is a real-time search box for the tags. This one, and I remind you how it looks in my website. This is the tag, and this is the search box that we are talking about. And there are an X button to the right edge of the input that will be present only when there is text typed by the user. Once the X button clicked, it will remove all the characters the user entered and reset the tags view, and the X will disappear until the user types again. If user removes the characters manually, meaning using the backspace button or something else, the X button should disappear in that case too. So these are our instructions. Let's see what it's doing. And one thing I want to show you before we start. I made an auto approve for read and edit. Actually, in this case, we don't want to make it do additions by himself because I want to see what he's doing before we apply the changes so we can review it together. So let's start. Now when it is starting to work, we also see how much it costs for me. So when we start, of course, $0 are spent. Let's see what he's doing and how much does it cost for us. Okay, you see it's also talking to himself. It actually reminds me of the reasoning model, but actually I'm not using the reasoning one because it's too expensive, and for these tasks we can use the regular one. If you want, this is the text. Okay, he found the tag that he need to change, and the function, the JavaScript function that activates this input real-time search box. And of course, he understands that he need to add the X button. So let's review the changes. Let me make the screen wider, and we are inside this area of all the controls. We are actually inside the tag filter card. To remind you, we're inside this section, the filter tag box. So these are our input, and this is the new button that it added in his previous review. And by default you see the display none, meaning that by default we don't see the X button, which makes sense because we don't have any text when the page is loaded for the first time. So let's review the changes. Okay, I clicked save button and now it continues. It actually sees that I'm applying the text. By the way, if I made some change manually after his suggested changes, he would say that he saw that I changed something, but it will continue as he assumes that I made something that should work. And it adds the JavaScript function to the same file, the video list.html. That should handle everything. Toggle clear button, filter tags. Okay, this is the clear tag search function, and it finds the input box of the search tag. It clears everything there and calls new two functions: the toggle clear button, which is this one, and the second one is the filter tags, which was already present. Let's review the change. Okay, so let me just make it wider. So it wraps the input button inside the new div tag with the search input container. Actually, I'm not sure where it took this class from, but okay. And it of course adds the new X button, and it assumes some styles. We will see now how actually it's looking. And these are all the changes, so let's apply them and see what it does next. So we added a new function named clear tag search. Let's see when this function is called. Okay, this function actually also the name of the ID of the new button, and this is the function that is called when you click the new X button. Okay, and it initializes an object with the input box. I see it according to the ID. The tag search is the ID of the already existed input box, as you see here. Next, it clears its value, which is good because it means that we clicked the X button, as we already saw that this function is called in that case. And then it calls two other functions. So let's see the functions. The first one that it calls is the filter tags. The filter tags function already existed, and it is responsible to show you only the tags that match your search query inside the tag input search box. And it added here and call to the new function toggle clear button. The toggle clear button accepts the search text. Then it tries to initialize an object with the clear tag search ID. The clear tag search ID is the new button that it added, as you see here. Then it checks if actually this value is not null. It can be null, for example, if this function happens before the page even loaded the button. It's some kind of precaution, but I think it's nice that he thought about it, so it won't throw on us some exception that it tries to do some operation on a null object. Then inside the if block, it overrides the display attribute of the button depending on the search text. If the search text is false, meaning that it was an empty string, it will be initialized to none, and on other case it will be blocked. Which actually means that if there is some text inside the input box, then we want to show the X button, which means the block value. And in cases that the search text is empty string, then don't show the button and initialize the display value to none. And the next function that it calls is the toggle clear button. Actually, this function was already called inside the filter tags, also with an empty value, because we already called this function with an empty value, and it called this again with an empty string value. So actually this call is redundant, but because I want it to be 100% an autonomous code, I won't change anything, and let's hope that it will work correctly. Okay, so we went over all the new code. Let's just make a quick recap. So it added a new button, a new X button with an on-click event of this clear tag search function, which is also the name of the ID of this button. And this clear tag search function does several things. First, it initializes an object with the search input box inside our website, where the user types the tags that he wants to filter. Then it initializes its value to be a clear string, actually removing the value, and it calls the filter tags with a clear string to reset all the tags, so that all the tags will be shown again inside this control box. And it calls the toggle clear button also with the empty string, which gets us the button object and decides if to show it or hide it depending on the search text value. And because we know that we called it with an empty string, it will hide it. And I remind you, this line is redundant, but this line actually is not redundant, because if the user removes manually the characters he typed, we want to hide the X button, and in this case the filter tags will get an empty string here, and it will call this function with an empty string, and in that case it will see that it's empty, and it will set the display attribute to none, and it will also hide the X button in case that the user removed the characters manually and did not click on the X button. And when the user starts to type again, let's see he typed only the first character, the letter Y for example, then we go to this function, and now because the Y string is not a false in JavaScript, then it will be block, and block display blocks means to show the X button, and in that case the X button is returning to the input box. So let's approve this code as well and see what it does next. And you see here how much it costs for me. Okay, great, it is doing the final part. And we got some API request failure because of rate limit. It's not something that critical, it just means that we use too much the API. We need to wait several seconds or a minute more or less, and then click the retry button, and actually the agent knows how to continue from these errors. It doesn't break it. Okay, so we are back. I waited about a minute, and let's click the retry and see what happens. Okay, great. So we decided it has some issue here. I don't know what it means, but okay. Okay, so he sees that the file was updated with most of the changes that he needed to make. I don't know what he means, but okay. Looking at the current content, I need to add initializing code for the clear button in the DOM content loaded event handler. Let me apply the change. So let's see his new change. So this is the new code that it added, this block, and it added it inside the event listener of DOM content loaded, meaning that this code is loaded when the page is loaded. So in that case, it initializes again an object of the search input box, and it checks if this search input is not null, meaning that the input is really loaded. It calls the toggle clear button with the value of the search input. So it assumes that somehow when the page is loaded, there is already value inside this search input, and he wants to decide whether we need to show or hide the X button. Okay, don't think it will do any harm. The second thing that it does, it is adding an input event listener to the same search input box that it initialized before here. And the input event is called each time the user types something inside this search box, removes something, or even pastes some text inside it. And in these cases, it calls also this toggle clear button, but now with the value of this search box. And I remind you, this is a very simple function. It only decides if you want to display or hide the X button. Okay, so I guess we can apply this code as well, and let's see what it does next. I think that he finished. Nice, all the necessary changes have been successfully applied to the file. Now it validates itself. It wants to review that everything is okay, which is very nice. And task is completed. Cool. So let's make a recap on all of these, on all of the changes that it made. So let's make a recap of what was added, and then we will see how the code functions in practice. So all the changes were in this video list template file. Let's go quickly over the changes. So he decided to wrap the button and the input inside a div, actually with some made up class, okay. And then it added a new X button, which is by default hidden, which is makes sense because we did not type anything when the page was loaded for the first time. Then it added the clear tags search function, which is called when the button is called. So when the button is clicked, the clear tag search function, and it makes the value of the input empty. It calls the filter tags with an empty string to reset all the tags to be shown again as if we didn't filter anything. And it calls the toggle clear button, which decides if we want to show or hide the X button. And in this case it will hide it because we called it with an empty string. Then, as I said before, this is a redundant because it is already called inside it with an empty value. But again, we cannot remove it from here because the filter tags may be called with an empty value because the user manually removed the characters that he typed. Okay, now the fun part. Let's see the final result. So I will reload my Django page. So let's refresh the page and see how it goes. So now when the search input box is empty, we don't see the X button. Let's type something. And we see here the X button. Certainly we need to fix its position, but let's see if it functions at all. So actually I'm clicking and nothing happens. Let's open the console, let's see what happens. And we see here some error. Call tag search is not a function. Let's give it to the agent and see what he thinks about it. So instead of starting a new task, we want to keep this context and only tell it that. I got some runtime error when clicking the X button. When clicking Okay, he is analyzing the code. Okay, actually there is a bug with the dark theme that it does not show code elements. We need to select everything. And actually it's pretty disappointing because it is not sure where the error comes from, as you can see in this text. But at least I see that it understands that this is a redundant call and it removed these calls from the code, which is a good start. And as you see, it sees the following. I see the issue, there is a redundant call to this toggle clear button function, and it says that it might be causing the runtime error. So let's just see if this is the issue. Again, let me apply the code. Now let it check itself. Okay, task is completed. Let's see again. Let me reload my website. And let's reload it here in the web browser. Okay. Okay, we are clicking the X button again. No, same issue. So let's go back to the agent and tell him we get the same error. Interesting. Okay, now it says it's more specific, but I sent him the exact same error as before. Okay, so it says that probably the clear tag search function is not in the global scope of the page, and the JavaScript part of the button does not see the JavaScript part where the function was defined. So it does the following things. It appends a window object before each of the functions, and hopefully I think it will be better. Let's see. Let's apply the change. Okay, it wants to update other functions as well. Let him do that. And task is completed, hopefully now for real. Let's see the website. Let's refresh the Django web app. And let's check the website. Type something, click the X button. Again, very strange, my friends. Okay, again, same issue. Let's see the error message. Same error message. Let's tell it to the agent and let's see what he suggests now. Same error when clicking the X button. I'm pasting the error and let's see what he suggests now. Let's try different approach. Instead of using the onClick attribute, let's add an event listener. Okay. Okay, he removed the onClick event of the button. And that's all in this change. What it does next is interesting. Okay, he is adding the onClick event in some other way. He initializes the clear button when the page is loaded, and he adds an event click listener in this way, meaning not directly from the button tag, but from accessing this clear button object and adding it as an event listener. Okay, let's see if it works now. Okay, let me just reload the web page and see if it fixed the issue. Reload and click. Oh, okay. Now it finally works. Let's do some more tests. Develop. Okay, we see the filtering of the develop word, and let's now remove it by backspace. Okay, it works, and the button is gone. Okay, nice. Let's type something else. Okay, looks good. Yeah, it is working. Okay guys, so that's it. Tell me in the comments what you think. It only costs us $1. Actually, I think. Now the last thing, let's fix the position of the X button. So I'm telling it that the X button is not vertically on the center of the input box because it's too much below the center line. Let's see if he understands our request. Let's adjust to fix the positioning issue. Let's adjust the CSS. Okay, made some CSS changes, and actually CSS is not something that I'm fond of. For me, it's like some black box. So just let's hope it is working correctly. Let's see if this is all. Okay, it validates itself. And also, okay, it changed it to flex. I'm not sure why, but let him do his thing. Task is completed. Again, let's reload the page and see what is happening. Let's reload the page and hopefully it will be okay now. Okay, the button is still too much below the line, but at least it's still working. So I think you're already understanding the vibe here. And see the cost. This small addition costs me, I think, it not that low price, $1.08. I think it's too much for what I'm asked for. And so let me know what you think in the comments. So now, are you afraid that AI will replace you as programmers? Actually, I'm thinking that from time to time it will be better and better, but still, we as human programmers need to be creative and think about system designs and new interesting features that AI will never be able to think of. But at least it's some start. I hope other features that you will do for yourself or me in the future will be better for the AI agent to handle. So thank you for watching.